In my Native American classes, the professors keep bringing up the doctrine of discovery. I have argued with the professors about this quite a few times, although I didn't fully understand it. Could you explain the doctrine of discovery? And is it legit Catholic teaching, or was it just a bad pope who created it?
No, the doctrine of discovery is the idea that when heretofore undiscovered lands are discovered, in fact, the Christian monarchs of the Christian countries that discover them have an obligation to evangelize the inhabitants thereof. With that obligation, of course, comes the privilege of running it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that might seem difficult to us moderns, but first you've got to bear in mind that the Native Americans themselves practiced a sort of doctrine of discovery. It was called conquest. You see, people have this idea that pre-Columbian America was this sort of Garden of Eden where the natives rambled around in touch with nature and each other, and all was joy, and all was peace and love. And they were there with the animals, and Bambi's great-great-great-great-grandmother never had to worry about anything. And ecologically, it was all wonderful, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, wasn't it like that?
No, it wasn't. It was, in fact, not unlike the rest of the world at any period in ancient history. Empires rose and fell. There was terrible cruelty. Nomadic tribes were particularly nasty to settled nations, and settled nations were really nasty to nomadic tribes when they could get their hands on them. Some of the biggest archaeological sites in North America, pre-Columbian, are battle sites, and the stories they tell are not pretty. As far as the ecology stuff goes, you know that until the Europeans came, the Indians did not have horses.
Really?
So where do you think the horses came from? Flowers?
I thought their horses were sort of like buffalo, sort of like wild on the plains.
Only when they escaped from the Spanish. Until the Spanish came,
there were no
horses.
Natural horses on the entire continent of North America to be had?
Not even unnatural ones.
Not even... Wow.
Nope, no unicorns, no Pegasi. There were no horses at all. They came with Europeans. So I'm sure you're wondering, well, gee willikers, that being the case, how did the Plains Indians live?
Yeah.
Well, they didn't live the way you think of. They lived in the river valleys, in the basins, in sort of mud lodges. They did go hunting buffalo.
Yeah, I was going to say, how did they hunt buffalo? I mean, Dances with Wolves. They used horses.
They did, which was a much more ecologically friendly and responsible method of hunting buffalo than the way they hunted them before they had horses.
Well,
they would stampede them. They stampeded them off cliffs. That's how they did it.
Wow, the dark underbelly of... That's so unromantic in a sense. Stampeding them off cliffs.
Yeah. And
wow.
The problem is, of course, there's only so much buffalo meat you can take when you've got the whole bloody herd lying there in pieces. So there's only... What?
So you're telling me that the Native Americans themselves were responsible for the buffalo, running them to the brink of extinction. Is that what you're saying?
No, not at all, because there weren't enough Native Americans to make that much of a difference.
Oh.
Even when they ran whole herds off.
Okay.
No, it was the white man that drove the buffalo to extinction. There's no doubt about that. And that was done very much as a matter of policy. But the truth is that after the Plains Indians got horses, they became much more selective hunters of buffalo, much more careful, because they could afford to be. When they didn't have horses, they were kind of stuck doing whatever they could. So, in a sense, the buffalo profited by the Indians getting the horse. But there was nothing like the systematic program of wiping them out that the white man did.
Yeah,
I mean, that's also a true story.
Yeah.
You've got to understand that it's not as though anybody comes out of this looking 100% wonderful. Nobody ever does in
Right.
history. You've got to admit the terrible fact that at any given time, everybody's got blood on their hands. Everybody's got dirt under their fingers. Everybody's got, well, anyway, you get the idea.
Okay. Well, what does Blessed Karl of Austria? What did the Austrians do? How did they have dirt on their fingers?
Well, they tolerated the rest of the world. Next.
Okay.
See,
Okay.
I can be just as partisan as any Native American studies teacher who doesn't know a single Indian language.
Wow. Intellectually dishonest about Austria. Wow.
Yeah, but I'm willing to say it.
Oh my.
People are willing to come out and say, I have a particular bête noire, and that's it. And if you don't like it, tough. No, they'll pretend. I don't pretend. I'll tell you the truth. But no, seriously, I'll just say, though, to finish up the Native American thing,
Yeah.
Most people know about the Aztec hearts and all that kind of thing, the human sacrifices, and the sort of anthill society the Inca perfected in Latin America, and in Peru, rather. So the point I'm making is that the difference between the European empires and the Native American empires, and yes, they had them. We had one in North America that collapsed around the time the Roman Empire did, the so-called mound builders. We don't know why it collapsed, but it did.
Wow.
And it didn't do so nicely. The sad truth of the matter is that in both the old world and the new, there was horror, bloodshed, and rapine on a constant level. The difference was that the old world had the light of Christ to bring to the new. The new world did not have that. They had turkeys, they had tomatoes, they had potatoes, peanuts, they had popcorn, they had all kinds of good stuff, material things.
Okay.
But nothing like the light of Christ, the chance of salvation.